Hey everyone. So this is going to be the second video of the Overwatch 2 character design philosophy series, and there's a few things that I've learned, especially after writing this video, that I saw didn't really work across all of the different roles, and I'll get into that in a few sections after this. So before we start this, I do want to say I think Anna is probably one of the best characters in the game. That is the most balanced and the best designed character in the game, or at least one of the best designed characters in the game. So you'll see me giving her flowers near when we get into all her categories. But I do apologize. I will be explaining a lot about the system before we get into that, because I did learn a lot of things by about my system while writing her script and then comparing it to the Doomfist system. But one thing I do want to kind of just throw out there that I did learn from the last time is I'm going to change the term for tanks. This isn't a tank video, but I'm just kind of throwing it out there. For tanks, I'm going to change damage mitigation to damage prevention. I think there was a lot of confusion on that in the last video, so I'll be changing that. And second, I want to define what I consider sustainment for a tank. It's more of being able to generate health, right? Health that you can have on you while you still do other stuff, right? So it's not, so those are the big differentiating factors between damage mitigation and sustainment. But yeah, this isn't a tank video. I will explain more on this on the next tank video I do. So I'm thinking probably Reinhardt. Reinhardt is really good at getting into the weeds of the differences between these two. So yeah, for all you newcomers, I'll get into the overall summary of what we do in these videos. Is we try to break down characters to see how they compare not only to other characters in the same role, but we're trying to normalize the comparison across every character in every role to kind of see how they stack up. Right, not necessarily against each other, but kind of what they're equipped with and how good they do the things that they're trying to do. So it's kind of a value assessment, not how they're playing against each other. So it doesn't take into considerations like the meta or any of those counters or anything like that. So the first video did so well that I'm actually going to start doing this twice a week. One tank and one support I think is going to be the best way to do it. One, because they are the most interesting for me to analyze, and yeah, they're just the most interesting for me to analyze. Maybe later on, depending, I might throw in a DPS in there. But I'm just much more interested in support and tank characters. DPS is kind of all over the place, so I'm still trying to figure out how I'm going to be, scaling, but by what criteria I'm going to be evaluating them on. But yeah, for now it's going to be maybe one tank and one support every week. On top of that, if I only do one character a week, like I had originally planned to do, I'm never going to finish this in time for it to actually mean anything, right? Because by the time I go through the 30 plus characters, there'll be so many patches that have gone by. A lot of things won't really, mean as much. As you guys know, the character stats are split into different categories. We have universal stats, role-specific stats, an overall score, which combines the universal stats and the role-specific stats, and ease to play, and then we get into the ultimates. The way we judge the ultimates is a bit different, because from in the last video, what I explained is ultimates are more kind of a supplement to what the character is trying to do. So we kind of put them in their own category and then give them a score on how well they do that thing. So it'll make more sense once we get there. And the last video was a bit technical because I spent a decent amount of time trying to explain the system and my reasoning for why I was doing what I was doing. And I'm afraid this one might also be a bit technical because of all the changes. Well, there's not that many changes, but I'm going to be explaining some of the changes and the ideology behind the changes of the system. But things will make sense once we actually kind of go over it and you see how it's applied. It'll be very easy. I just like to explain things like, so when I go into the comments, what my thinking is when you're, giving me feedback. So yeah, bear with me. Plus, it's a good sign, right? I'm communicating with you guys. You guys are giving me feedback, and we're improving the system. So that's kind of what you want, right? So yeah, with that, let's begin. So I'm gonna go through an explanation of all the stats and go through like pretty fast. So for universal stats, just like the last video, it includes the universal stats are normalized across all roles. So let's say you have a tank, you can have like a 5, effective health, right? And I'll be comparing that to, like, let's say a support character who can have like a 1.5 effective health. So a lot of like supports characters, they're never gonna get past like 2, right? So it doesn't mean that they're bad. It just means like across the entire spectrum, this is where they are. So the reason we do that is to normalize these stats to kind of see how they compare with each other. So the first stat in universal stat is, like I said, effective health. So it factors in armor, factors in just overall health and all that good stuff. And the second one is damage output. Damage output is also normalized because we have characters like Baptiste who can do as much, if not more, damage than the soldier, while also healing as much as, well, I guess a Baptiste, right? Or like as much as a Mercy. So that kind of helps you kind of scale and gauge which characters might need some tuning in certain places. And overall, I do think everybody but DPS needs a nerf to their damage. Everybody across the board, well, almost everybody across the board, but every role. Tanks and supports, I would say, not every role. Tanks and supports definitely need a nerf. Everybody in each of those roles need a nerf to their damage, in my opinion. So I'll get into those explanations how and why as we continue through. So yeah, so the two for universal stats is universal health and damage output. The next category is the role specific stats. So role specific stats are essentially, well, stats that are specific to that role, right? So for tanks, we had crowd control, we had damage prevention, which used to be damage mitigation, and we had sustainability. So for support characters, we have their ability to escape, which is very important, and I'll dig deep on that as we go down. But their ability to escape when somebody's trying to fight them, their healing output, which is super important, and the last one is their hacks. So there's probably a better word for hacks, maybe utility. Utility is definitely a better word. Maybe I'll change that. Their utility, but their hacks abilities, their hacks, which is like a Discord, or let's say Kiriko's Suzu, or things like that. These explanations are actually going much faster than the tank video. So yeah, after that, I said there is a combined score. So the combined score is something that I'm changing in this version. Well, this video onwards. Before it had magnitude, but I saw that magnitude didn't really work because there's more of a balancing act that we're trying to do that I don't think magnitude actually gets to, right? Although everybody has their stats, there is a preferred balancing limit, maybe I'll call it that, that I think should be factored in, and I'll give a few examples. So a good example for this is, in my opinion, and most people's opinion, and this is a good example of this, a support character should not be able to be good at escaping and damage and having really good hacking abilities to a certain degree. It's why everybody hates Kiriko, right? Like Kiriko could just kind of do everything. She can do a ton of damage. She can escape with like no effort, and her Suzu is kind of broken. She essentially gets like a 3.5 to a 5 in all of these categories. However, support characters are designed in a way where the big give is their ability to fight compared to their ability to escape. So if someone has like a 5 in, being able to fight, and a 1 in being able to escape, which is essentially like a Zenyatta, right? Not exactly, but you know what I'm saying. That would actually bring down their score, right? But that's actually how it should be. It's not right that their score is being brought down while this is the balancing act. So I'll be changing the magnitude stat to a percentage stat that is divided by the ideal stat spread that a character should have to be considered balanced. So in my last video, I gave Doomfist a 3.5 in health, effective health, 4 for damage, 4 for CC, 4 for damage prevention, and 4 for sustain. I had stated that for a tank, in my opinion, the maximum stat for health should be a 5, for damage a 3. Again, I think everyone needs everyone besides DPS needs a nerf to damage, and a maximum of 11 combined in CC, damage prevention, and sustainability. So that would be the ideal stat spread for the sake of having a balanced tank character, right? It is that combination of CC, damage prevention, and sustainability. So in this one, you'll see what it is for support. In support, I have it as the balancing act is between the ability to fight and the ability to escape. So that'll be kind of like it'll be like a fight or flight stat. But again, we'll get into that once we get there. If I put these stat traits on the new scaling system, he would actually get a 5.1 out of 5. But again, with an ease to play score of 2 out of 5, because remember, there is a ease to play score, and the higher value score a character has, the lower their ease to play should be in general, right? Because you want to reward people for learning how to play these very powerful characters. So he's a character with a really good kit, but unless you really know how to play him, you're probably just going to be feeding. And remember, that 5.1, I did think that he needed a nerf in some areas, right? I did think that there was a nerf that needed to be done for his damage, but also I thought that there was a nerf that needed to be done for his sustainability. And again, I'm not going to go through this in this video. I think I'm not even talking, I haven't even spoken about Ana yet. So if you guys want to, get some more information on that, you can go to the last video and kind of check out what I said about that over there. I was thinking of making it out of 10, but I don't know. I don't want to. I'll just leave it the way it is now. Just double the scores if you want to know what it is out of 10. And remember, these are value scores, so I'm not factoring in the meta or how they stack up against other characters when they're like 1v1ing each other. I'm just looking at their kit, how easy they are to play, and again, this is the design philosophy. So to apply this for support characters, I think that maximum score a support character should have in effective health should be something around a 2.5 should be absolute max that a support character should have in their effective health. And that will only be if they're made for that, like kind of Brig is, where her entire thing is to be kind of a support protector. So that is the actual absolute limit. And I think her effective health is like 225 or something. So that is where I draw the line for that. And because I believe support characters should be designed to be fight or flight type characters, unless you're Kiriko, where you can just do everything and, nobody cares. So what we're going to be doing is combining her ability to, her damage output with her ability to escape. So I'm going to put this under a category called fight or flight. And I'm going to say it, I don't think you guys are going to like it, but I think I'm right. I'm pretty sure that I'm right. I think that combined, it should max out to a 3.5. Right, so if her ability to escape is 2.5, her damage output should probably just be a 1. And vice versa. If her ability to damage output is a 2, then her ability to escape should probably be a 1. Because there's too much overlap. The whole Kiriko thing that's happening, same with Ilari, it's a problem. Now, there are some caveats. 3 or 3.5, I'll say 3 for now. I could see myself going up to 3.5, but we'll get into that. There are some caveats, like Moira, who all she really does is like heal and like fight. So because she has like absolutely zero utility or like hacks abilities, it would make sense that she can escape and do damage. But again, we'll do this on a per character basis. So you see, don't worry, I'm thinking about that. I'm thinking about that. You see, yeah. But yeah. Anyways, for healing output and hacks abilities, I do think they should be able to go up to 5. So I'm leaving that to 5. So that actually gives a maximum score possible. Again, we're going to go over this once I'm finished going through, and it's going to make a lot more sense. It's not going to be this technical or this difficult. But that makes the maximum score a support character can get is 15. So that's kind of the premise we're going to be kind of comparing it to, for full balance, right? So that they're not kind of going crazy. Anyways, I spent enough time on this Ana video not talking about Ana, so let's get into all her things. And she goes by pretty fast because she's pretty straightforward until we get into like her utility. So yeah, let's begin. So for the health segment, Ana has an effective HP of 200, so she gets a 2 out of 5 here. Pretty standard HP. Not much to say here. I think this is good. I think, you know, it's kind of normal for a support character. She has no armor. She has no shields or anything like that. So, again, not much to say. The next one is damage output. And I want to give Ana a damage output score of more than a 2.5, but less than a 3. But I don't want to give her a 2.7 because I don't want to open that can of worms. Because I'll have in the comments, oh, why don't you give her a 2.6 or like a, you know, 2.55 or something like that. And that'll just get ridiculous. So I'm going to leave it at a 2.5 for now. I want to see what you guys say in the comments. But each shot does 75 damage, which is a lot of damage. It's a lot of damage. But the firing rate is low and it's easy to miss. But, you know, the ability to hit your target falls into the easy to play category. So, you know, we'll talk about that there. But just, you know, if you're playing her well and you're hitting your 75 shots, your 75 damage shots, I think that's too much. Personally, I would lower this to 65 or 70 like they had it before. If you guys don't know, they buffed it like several months ago. So her combo can still kill like a squishy, but it's just not, you know, she won't be, I don't think she should be like two-shotting tracers, right? I think there should be like a bigger effort, although again, Tracer could rewind, all that type of stuff, but even like she just you can't even like dive her as a Genji. She's so strong. Her combo kills you even if she doesn't put you to sleep. So yeah, this is her damage gets to 2.5. I think it should be again max. We'll get into that. So let's move into the her ability to escape. So when I first wrote this, I was gonna give her a 0. Right, because I was kind of only looking at her mobility, which she has none, right? If she's not doing anything that nobody else can do, that deserves a 0, right? Because all she can do is walk. Everybody could walk in the game, so there's nothing really special about her in that regard. She very much more leans into the fighting side of the fight or flight statistic. But as I kept thinking more about it and, played a few games and things like that, her ability to escape is also, well, it's not just, her mobility, like most characters are, but just her ability to put you to sleep. I don't know why I didn't think of that earlier, but her ability to put you to sleep is pretty a good means of escape. Well, not even good, it's just like, and it just exists, right? It allows her to put you to sleep and essentially just walk back to her team so you can't really dive her anymore. And even if she puts you to sleep, normally some stray shot is just going to wake you up and you just kind of pounce on her again. Even at higher levels, right? Because somebody just like a stray, diva spread just hits you and you wake up. I could see a 1.5, but nothing more than that. I can't see anything more than 1.5. So remember, when I'm giving her this 1.5, it's because I'm not considering it as putting you to sleep and then her doing her combo to, kind of get rid of you. That falls into damage output. I'm talking about just strictly her putting you to sleep and her walking to her team. Like, that's it. So I think 1.5 is appropriate here. Next is her healing ability. Ana gets a 5 here. Ana has the most healing output of all support characters if played correctly, from what I calculated. She is a monster in the right hands for healing. Not only does each shot give you like such a large amount of healing, but that combined with her nade it's ridiculous, because her nades also increase how much healing you get, not only from her but like from everything, by 50%, which is huge. It is extraordinarily huge. She's boosting the healing of all the healers. Even if you're like a Roadhog, it boosts your self healing too. So she's a monster for this, like in every way. This is an easy 5 out of 5. And personally, Ana's my favorite support character to have on my team. I can't really play her because I'm not like really good at her, but she's the best. And there's been plenty of games. I remember one game in particular where I'm just like in the fight, like fighting in Narnia. Like everybody's just kind of ganging up on me, and out of nowhere, I get the yellow mist on the screen and I see like the plus signs. I'm like, oh, I'm getting healed. Like I just hear like that squeegee noise she makes when she hits you with healing, and you're just like, where is she healing me from? Like I was actually looking around trying to see where she was. I had no idea where she was, but I was just getting healed. So yeah, Ana is my favorite support to have on the team. So easy 5 out of 5. Easy, no question. Best healing output of any support character, in my opinion, in the game. It's when you have the skills for it. Next is Anna's utility. Also a 5 out of 5. And honestly, part of me wants to give her a 6 out of 5 for this, but I won't. And I'll just kind of set the high standard. I'll set this as what a 5 is. But yeah, her nade is essentially a mini ultimate that she has every like 12 seconds. Like a good nade wins a fight. Like it stops the enemy team from being able to heal. Like that's crazy. While it amplifies your ability to heal. That is insane. So this ability alone is probably a 3.5 out of 10. Like by itself, it's probably a 3.5 out of 10. But on top of that, you throw in the fact that she can put you to sleep. That's ridiculous. I don't think there's any other ability like that in the game. Like this alone shuts down like 90% of all ultimates. I can see her utility being something that might need a nerf. Maybe mainly because her nade just kind of counters like way too many tanks and things like that. So maybe instead of completely stopping healing, maybe it could just reduce healing that a person gets by like 60% or 70% or something like that. But yeah, I'm not, that's just something I can see that could possibly need a nerf to kind of, for the whole overall score, to kind of get her back. So yeah, so next is the overall score, right? We already went through all 5 categories. And again, I'll explain this. It'll be a lot faster because I spent so much time explaining it earlier. So
I would like to interrupt this video to ask you to like and subscribe. If you made it this far in the video, chances are you kind of like what I'm talking about. So, help me out, guys.
So yeah, now for the overall score. For effective HP, we gave her a 2. For damage output, we gave her a 2.5. For escape, we gave her a 1.5, meaning that her entire fight or flight score is a 4 out of 3.5. Remember, we're combining those now, right? And the limit, I think, should be capped on that to not have like too much overlap the way we have Kiriko right now. I think a limit at 3.5 is good and healthy for the game. After that, we got a 5 for utility and a 5 for healing output. That means we got a 2 plus 4 plus 10, giving her a 16. So 16 out of 15, if you look at the overall value limit for balancing that I mentioned earlier. So that makes her score equal to a 5.3 out of 5.
Because 16 divided by 15 is 1.06. Times that by 10, you get a 10.6. And divide that by 2, you get 5.3. And you guys can do it out of 10 if you want. I'm doing it by 5. So if you're doing it out of 10, it's 10.6.
So very close to where I think she should be, but also letting you know that she is a real high value character. And remember, I said the only place I really think she needs a nerf is probably her damage output. But then again, I can't stress this enough. I think everybody who's not a DPS needs some form of damage reduction in the game, because it's gotten ridiculous in my opinion. The only other place where I think she probably could get a nerf is maybe her utility, specifically her nade, or maybe instead of completely stopping all healing, she just reduces healing by maybe 80% or something like that, right? So, but then again, something like that, would it even be useful to have it to only have like 20% healing? It might be better than nothing, but who knows. Well, there needs to be a nerf here, in my opinion, and I think it needs to be in her. I think it needs to be in her damage output. But I wouldn't even mind if it was in her sleep duration, right? I think that would be also a suitable way to bring it down. But bring down the duration of sleep so that her score goes down from a 1.5 to a 1, so she can keep her 2.5 damage output. I think that'll be legitimate. I think that'll be fair. So yeah, almost a complete. Not only is she like a super high value character, but she's like very close to being super balanced, in my opinion. Again, I think she is the most well-designed character in the game. Like they really designed her to really scale with how good you are, and they really designed her to scale with how good you are at the game. So the value you get is extraordinarily exponential. But you know what that means? With a high value score, it generally comes with a high skill ceiling requirement to kind of balance everything out. So that brings us to the next category, ease to use. As for ease to use, Anna gets a 1 out of 5 because she is very difficult to play. I would say one of the hardest characters in the game to play. To play to a point where you're actually like really good at her. The difference between Masters and GM Anna is insane. Well, that kind of goes for everything, but the difference between a Masters 1 Anna and like a Masters 3 Anna is also very, very different. I don't think there's another character that needs to allocate her resources as much as Anna does. So it's not just like allocating your resources and, you know, kind of deciding what to do when, but even mechanically doing her stuff is not easy, right? Hitting a sleep dart is not easy. And if you guys have seen like some of the greats like back in the day, they're sleeping mid-dash Genjis. that's crazy. And I'm not putting, you know, the upper 1% in this scale, but that's when you get so good at her where you're kind of doing that, it's crazy. Two-shotting tracers, just like it's insane what they can do. But yeah, there's things like not freaking out when you get dived on, and everybody always trying to dive on you because it can't really move. She's probably the most vulnerable support character in the game. Maybe Zen is second, but Zen, it's not hard for Zen to fight, right? But it is hard for an Anna to fight, although she does lean fight or flight, right? You have to hit the combo. You have to put them to sleep, and then you have to, every time an Anna puts me to sleep when I'm diving her in the back, I can, let's say I'm playing like a dive, not like Doomfist, but like a squishy, and I dive her in the back. After she sleeps me, I could essentially just hear her breathing, like the intensity of, okay, I gotta pull off my combo to take him out. I'm about to do it. I'm about to go in. So yeah, she's very, very hard character to play. But once you are able to play her, extraordinary, kind of like Doomfist. So yeah, I guess the next category we'll talk about her ultimate. And if you guys remember, the way we decided to do her ultimate is we kind of see what the ultimate does, kind of like what it's supplementing in her kit. So for Doomfist, his ultimate, although we put it into damage prevention category because it's kind of mainly used as an escape, but it also does damage, but the damage is kind of trash. But you get so much of it in the game that you eventually get some value out of it, right? So that's kind of how we did it over there. So for Anna's ult does a few things, right? It heals you for 250 HP, like instantly. It gives you 1.5 damage and gives you 1.5 damage reduction, right? 50% damage reduction. So essentially on their own, each of these things are, you know, they're fine. Well, they're a little less than fine by themselves, but they're still useful, right? They become powerful when you kind of combine it together, which is what the ult is. So I think this is where the magnitude of something is valuable. So I would give this a 2 in healing, 2 in damage output, and 2 in utility. So if you do the magnitude of that, you get 2 squared plus 2 squared plus 2 squared, which is 12, and then you do the square root of that, which is like 3.4 something. So I'm going to round it up to a 3.5. I do think her ultimate is a 3.5. I think it's a good ultimate. I think it's very useful, and it also scales a lot. Let's say the scaling up would be from the 3.4 to a 3.5 because it scales really well if used with another character. One, it depends on who you give it to, but let's say if you give it to like a soldier while he's using his ultimate, or you do the nano blade thing, the uses are exponential. So yeah, that's why her ultimate gets a 3.5, but like a overall 3.5, but like a 2 in each of those categories. So yeah, so I guess for the conclusion, I think Anna is one of the best design characters in the entire game. She absolutely scales with scale, unlike characters like Junkrat, who's always kind of useful without much variation in skill. And I almost wouldn't change a thing about her besides her damage output, but that goes across all characters who are on DPS. And maybe her nade, instead of completely negating healing, maybe just reduce how much healing a person gets by like 80% or something. I don't know. And I'm not suggesting it, I'm just saying, you know, that's a possibility that I can see. Or maybe even the sleep duration, but somebody always wakes you up. So she's amazingly useful, and her kit and her healing is extraordinary, but only if you really know how to use her, because she's very, very hard to use. Maybe the only harder character is Wrecking Ball, maybe. So yeah, that's it for Anna. This was a bit of a long video because of all the explanations I did and how I'm changing the system. But yeah, leave a comment. Let me know what you think, whether you think I'm wrong or right, or if I'm an idiot. But also leave a comment for the algorithm. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And also don't forget, I love you.